Hello, Minnesota. Welcome back to the Tony Hernandez Show. I'm your host, Tony Hernandez. Now we're going to bring on our next guest. He's running for the mayor of St. Paul, Mr. Tim Holden.
Hi,
welcome
Tony.
to the show.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you here for the first time. And how can you just briefly tell us a little bit how the campaign's going so far?
Going really well. We've a lot of people that are very positive, a lot of traction. People are very supportive of what's going on with our campaign. They'd like to see change in the capital city. And we're all about giving people a voice, and that's why we're running for mayor.
Did you do you have any videos like Jeff Wagner's video there? What did you think of that?
It was interesting. No, I haven't done anything quite that challenging. I guess we've been doing a lot of campaigning, door knocking, and the more common type campaigning. We have done a lot of TV interviewing, and again, thank you for letting us come on the air. First thing I'd like to do is say thank you to all the veterans and service people that we have out there. Thank you for your service. I think it's very important that we acknowledge your hard work, and I just want to say thank you. Again, Tony, thank you for letting me come on the air here tonight, and I think it's important we talk about a lot of the issues that we have in St. Paul because there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah, without a doubt, Tim. And just so the audience knows, we did make an invitation to Mayor Coleman's office if he wants to come on the show as well.
Good.
We'd love to hear his viewpoints and
Wonderful.
What he's going to be doing if he's elected again in the next term. Before we get into the issues, though, Tim, I want to hear a little more about who you are as a person. First of all, did you grow up in St. Paul?
Yeah, I grew up on the west side in St. Paul. Pretty much my entire life I've been in St. Paul. Went to St. Thomas Academy, graduated in St. Thomas Academy, and went on to St. Cloud State. I'm a general contractor. I'm a real estate investor. Have a little bit of background in the policing, done some policing, and also have twin daughters that I love, and that's basically my full commitment in my daughters and my work.
I think we have pictures of your daughters right here. If Dallas wants to pull those up. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, great.
There they are. So what are your daughters' names there?
My daughters' names are Sierra and Sydney, and Sydney is the older of the two, but they're both great kids, and they go to school in Woodbury, and they have a lot of things going on with school now. They're very busy in the school, and they play soccer and they're volleyball, and they're very interested in after school activities. So great girls, and I'm very fortunate to have twins.
Have they? I couldn't imagine with Leona and I saw Maximilian there earlier, and just having one for the first time.
Sure.
Especially Leona touched on it that first week where you're a new parent, and Leona actually made the comment multiple times as I can't believe if people have twins their first time around. I mean, do you remember those days? Was it a bit overwhelming at first, or? Oh yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it was overwhelming. But my ex-wife did a wonderful job. She took very good care of them and had them on a schedule. So I was blessed there. But the girls, they've grown up very fast. I mean, they're 11 now, and the time just seems to be flying by. So the girls are definitely at the forefront of my every day.
And are they helping with the campaign at all?
Oh yeah, the girls are involved in the campaign. They've been doing a great job in the parades and all the brochures and putting things together. They've been helping out a tremendous amount.
Mm-hmm. And so you went to a mixture of public and private schools, St. Thomas being the private school, and Moreland and St. Cloud University. So do you, as mayor, and I know you don't have so much, you're not running for the school board, but what are your thoughts on public schools versus private schools and charter schools? Do you believe in school choice for parents?
I do believe in school choice for parents, and I think that we really have to work on our educational gap that we have in St. Paul. We have one of the worst educational gaps in the nation, and that's not acceptable. We need to do a lot better job of listening to what the parents want, also giving the teachers the resources they need to do the job effectively in the schools. We have to do a much better job of educating our kids, and that's the most important thing. If I can't emphasize that today, is that we have to educate every child. We have a huge gap between kids that are of color and kids that are of white that are graduating from school, and that's just not acceptable. We have to do a much better job. Education is everything, and if we can educate our kids, they'll go out, once they do graduate, they'll want to do their own thing, they'll want to produce their own jobs, they'll want to go to college, they'll want to move on in their lives. But we have to educate our children. That's the absolute most important thing we do.
Yeah, and we've had some shows in the past. We have Mr. Donnell Tenner, who wrote a book about closing in on the achievement gap. He's from St. Paul, Roseville area. And we also had the St. Paul School Board candidate, Mr. Chu Vu on, and he reminded me, because quite often when we talk about the achievement gap in St. Paul and Minneapolis, we're talking too often about African Americans and Hispanics, and showing that their graduation rates are much, much lower than their white counterparts, which is what they mean by the achievement gap. Also, English and mathematical competency and scores are much lower in those groups. And what Chu Vu pointed out is, and he opened my eyes to it, is that the Hmong Americans are also falling behind in certain areas. And it's something I believe is a huge issue here. Would you not agree?
It is a huge issue. It's a huge issue across the board for all kids in St. Paul. We need to do a much better job educating our kids. And I believe the first thing we have to do in St. Paul is, first and foremost, we need to fix our problem with livable wage jobs. We have 1 in 4 people right now living in poverty in the city of St. Paul, which is unacceptable. 1 in 4 people living in poverty is not acceptable for the capital city. The reality is these kids are going to school. A lot of them aren't getting the proper nutrition. They're not getting what they need to be prepared to go to school. And these parents are working 2 and 3 different jobs to try and survive. And we have to find a way to produce livable wage jobs. As a business owner, a small business owner for 20 years, that's what I'm all about. Listening to businesses, giving businesses a voice, listening to what businesses want and need. Private businesses need to come in and help us overcome some of these issues. We need to create livable wage jobs. Education is extremely important, and the reality is 1 in 4 people in St. Paul is just not acceptable. We have the highest, unfortunately, the highest unemployment rate in the nation. It's over 20% for people of color versus people that are white. And that's another big issue that we need to tackle and take on. The only way we can fix these problems is to listen to private business. And again, I want to promote private business, give businesses a reason to come to St. Paul and do what they want when they come. Listen to them, cut some of the red tape, and make things a little bit easier and more friendly for them when they do come in and want to spend their own money.
So you said you grew up in St. Paul, and you know your memories growing up, because I grew up in St. Paul as well. I grew up on Juliet and Fairview in the McAllister Groveland area, and then we moved to Selby and Wilder when I was in 5th grade. And you know, my memories of growing up are in some ways different from the St. Paul that I know today. And I'm wondering if you see any of those differences from when you were a kid growing up in St. Paul to the St. Paul that it is right now.
Well, right now in St. Paul, I see a tremendous amount of things happening in St. Paul that a lot of people aren't real happy with. Taxes across the board. Property taxes going up. And the reason property taxes are going up, because we're doing all these unnecessary subsidized projects. A perfect example is the mayor's pet project, the ballpark. A lot of people would like to take a vote on this project to decide whether we want the ballpark downtown, whether we want the ballpark, period. But the ballpark has never taken a vote. People would like to see that go to a vote and listen to what the people want. This project, in my eyes, has just been the worst project I've seen. First, being given out to one specific contractor, and then basically being slapped on the wrist by the governor saying you have to put it out to bid. The reality is we have no guaranteed commitment from the Saints. The St. Paul Saints haven't made a lease with the city, signed a lease, saying that they're committed to this. We also don't have a design-build dollar amount in place, and that's another big issue. The Saints ballpark, in my eyes, is not ready for prime time. This ballpark should be analyzed, all the issues should be put on the table, and the people of St. Paul should be able to vote on this ballpark, where they want it, whether they want it or not. And that will help lower and take care of some of these increases in taxes that we're running into on a continual basis. I've talked to a lot of people in the Highland Park area, Mac Grove, a variety of areas, and they say they're going to have to move out of their homes because the taxes are so high. Now that's not acceptable in my eyes. The quality services are not getting better, they're actually going backwards, and the reality is the city cannot conduct business this way. The capital city needs to be a leader, and we cannot have this kind of an operation take place.
Yeah, and I concur in terms of I know people who have already moved out of St. Paul. One of the main reasons that they used are the property taxes and the cost of living in St. Paul versus areas like Lakeville, Burnsville, Farmington. Another reason that people and families have cited about St. Paul is it's becoming more and more dangerous.
Right.
And that is actually highlighted by a recent case by a young man by the name of Ray Widstrand. And we're going to play this quick video to kind of brief the audience about what happened there.
Sure.
And talk about it a little bit after, and then we'll talk more about the Saints Stadium. So Dallas, if you could line that up right here, right now.
I couldn't believe it. Another top story this morning, a young man fighting for his life, his family in disbelief, and investigators looking for answers.
St. Paul police say Ray Widestrand was simply out for a walk in St. Paul last week when he was jumped by what appears to be a group of teenagers. On Friday night, 4 people were arrested in connection to the beating. 5 Eyewitness News reporter Catherine Johnson is live at Regents Hospital this morning. And Catherine, the victim, is facing some pretty serious injuries.
Joy and Tom still here this morning in critical condition with severe brain swelling, possibly fatal brain swelling. Ray Widestrand's family is here at Regents this morning, nearly a week after that beating, sitting by his side. The 26-year-old was rushed here after police found him bleeding in the street with severe and potentially fatal brain swelling. They believe he was robbed, beaten, and left for dead by a group of teens investigators associate with local gangs. Witnesses say they saw Widestrand walking home past the intersection of Preble Street and Minnehaha Avenue around 11:30 Sunday night when he passed a large fight. When police arrived, they saw 40 to 50 people scatter, leaving Widestrand on the ground unconscious and bleeding. 3 juveniles have been arrested in connection to Widestrand's beating, along with 19-year-old Isaac Maiden, identified from a still shot taken from a camera in the area.
So that's a report from KSTP. Ray Widestrand, this was about a month and a half ago. Tragic and senseless violence that occurred here, it appears. And I read the article Joe Souchere wrote in the Pioneer Press. It was a few weeks back during the State Fair. And, he touched on this. He said he grew up on the east side of St. Paul. And he's like, don't get me wrong, there's always been violence on the east side of St. Paul. And the point that he made is even if it was bad reasoning, the violence still had some type of an explanation, whether it was a street fight or people trying to settle scores or even gangs in their own turf.
Right.
But what he was talking about is the violence that's directed outside of that realm to innocent victims. And we're seeing this actually across the country right now. It's not just St. Paul. But I just wanted to get your viewpoint on what happened specifically here. And is this something we all need to be worried about?
Well, I think it is something we all need to be worried about. I believe that, and again, I want to say my prayers go out to Ray and his family, and I want to let them know that I'm hoping that he recovers fully. I mean, this is tragic. This should never happen anywhere in St. Paul, anywhere in the country, anywhere, period. The reality is we do have a rising crime rate in St. Paul. The east side has a lot of different things going on. Assaults on the east side. Throughout the rest of the city, there's been just a tremendous amount of burglaries and break-ins. I've personally had my home broken into 3 times within the last year. My neighbors across the street, on the side of me, they've been broken into. And the reality is we have a real crime problem right now in St. Paul. And I think this goes back to, again, poverty, the poverty issue. We need to put people into livable wage jobs and give people jobs that they can survive on. And how do we do that? What we need to do as a business owner and a business person that knows how to promote jobs, listen to what the businesses want and need. And then when they come in, try and do what they have and work with them, accommodate what they have with their needs. When they have parking issues, we work with them on parking. We have issues with access. We have all kinds of things right now in St. Paul that need to be addressed. The crime problem in St. Paul is a big issue right now. And again, break-ins around the city are happening. My neighborhood, we've had, within the last couple of weeks, we've had about 3 or 4 garages broken into. We've been on e-democracy, and the break-ins are going on everywhere. And people are doing what they have to do right now, unfortunately, and they're trying to revert to crime to, steal things and I suppose sell them and whatnot to make some money so they can take care of their families. It's getting really bad, and that has to be taken care of. We need to put people to work and create livable wage jobs. That's the biggest thing that I think we need to do right now in the city of St. Paul is create livable wage jobs.
And we used to, St. Paul has a rich business history, and we were talking a little bit of this off camera. Even in downtown St. Paul, Whirlpool used to be there. West Publishing, I believe, used to have their headquarters there. 3M, the Ford plant. All of these are now relics of the past. And I guess what I want to know, and what a lot of people in St. Paul and the Twin Cities want to know, is what can a city government do to bring those jobs back, to make the companies want to grow and expand within the city, which creates jobs for the people that live there?
Well, the first thing they have to do, it's simple. The first thing they need to do is listen. They need to take 1 minute or 2 minutes and give the people that are working, the business owners, the common courtesy to listen to what they want and what they need. They'll tell you what they want and need. I personally tried to get the respect of the city and ask them some questions, and we were never listened to. Calls weren't returned, and that's a huge problem. We've lost all kinds of businesses in St. Paul. A variety of big companies have gone out that created livable wage jobs. The Ford Company's gone. Macy's is gone. West Publishing is gone. 3M has closed down a variety of places. There's a variety of businesses that have closed and that have moved out due to the fact that they weren't listened to, and that the people that we have in positions of power didn't do what they should have done, and that's listen and to be proactive and think about what these businesses need to make sure that they weren't leaving. I've talked before about possibly making sure that the city council people get into each business at least once a year. And that'll help these businesses know what kind of things are happening, what kind of incentives there are, what kind of programs are available if they aren't doing very well. The city council could get in there at least once every year and talk to each business. I think that would solve a lot of problems. The reality is our business climate in St. Paul is very stagnant. It's very slow. We have absolutely a lot of work to do, and that's listen to small businesses, private businesses, people that are willing to come in and create jobs. That's what we need to do across the board in the city of St. Paul. If we want to fix the problems we have, we need to put people back to work with livable wage jobs. The next thing we also need to do is fill our downtown, and that's a big problem. We have a 25% vacancy rate downtown, which is not acceptable for the capital city. Absolutely not acceptable. We need to put people in downtown that are willing to come in with private dollars and listen to what they want. Roll out the carpet and say, listen, what would you like to have? What can we do to make this a more viable city? And in your eyes, what can you do to bring your business here?
And, speaking of downtown, wouldn't those supporters of the Saints Stadium, wouldn't they say, well, that's why we need to subsidize the Saints Stadium and get it downtown St. Paul? It was the same argument used for the Twin Stadium, for the Viking Stadium, is because it brings business to the areas. It enriches the restaurants and the bars and the other shops that are around that area. And wouldn't they make the argument that bringing the Saints Stadium would actually decrease that vacancy rate?
They can bring the argument, but I'm going to tell you right now, I've talked and I've dealt with all the people in Lower Town, and they are not happy. The people of St. Paul, if they know the facts about this ballpark, this is the mayor's pet project. This ballpark is not ready for prime time. There's no guaranteed return on investment, period. We're building a $60 to $80 million ballpark with no guaranteed return on investment. That's what's creating our taxes across the board to go up when we're doing subsidized projects like this with no guaranteed return on investment. We have no commitment from Ryan Construction, no design, build, total dollar amount. We have no idea what it's going to cost to buy out the parking spaces that were taken by eminent domain from the Market House condos. This ballpark is not ready for prime time. It should go on the ballot. People should have a voice. They should be able to vote on whether they want it. First and foremost, they should also be able to vote whether they want it in downtown Lower Town or if they'd like to keep it where it is right now in the Hamlin Midway. Hamlin University is being affected by this. A lot of people are losing a lot of quality of life issues and services due to this ballpark.
So can you just clarify, has the city council and Mayor Coleman, have they made a decision?
They have. The city council has voted for the stadium. They've just recently gone back in front of the council to ask for another $9 million due to the fact that there wasn't an EIS, an environmental impact statement, that should have been done. There's a variety of things with this ballpark that are done backwards. The EIS would have said that, listen, we have a real problem with contaminated soil. We have issues with all kinds of access, noise, loss of parking. The people in Lower Town, when this happens, it's going to be a real mess. And I feel sorry for the people in Lower Town personally. So when I become mayor on November 5th, we will put this to a vote. I will put this on the ballot, and I will do everything I can to make sure this project is stopped and that the people have a voice, whether they want this ballpark or whether they don't want this ballpark. And if they do want it, where they want it. If it's downtown or if it's going to stay where it is now, we can fix that facility up for a lot less than $80 million. A lot less. And we can live within our means and not continue to raise our property taxes.
So the city council voted, they approved, Mayor Coleman signed it, and what specifically is the deal that they approved?
They approved a ballpark, and they don't have it all. The reality is with all the unknowns, the soil contamination, and with the costs, the overruns that we have, we're building basically, it's really a kind of a small, in my eyes, really kind of a amateur ballpark at best for not even a minor league ball team in our capital city. This is ridiculous. I mean, this is the capital city. We should be leading by example. not putting something like this in downtown. We have no idea what the costs are going to be. We have no commitment. The people of St. Paul are not happy with what's going on. We have no commitment from the Saints owners, who, by the way, are multimillionaires. Why we're building a ballpark for multimillionaires as we're closing kids' parks and rec centers around the city. We've closed over 10 parks and rec centers around the city. Why that's happening and we're building a ballpark for not even a minor league ball team, I don't know. We have a real issue with priorities. The existing people that are in leadership need to go, and it's time to put people in with some common sense that are willing to work with everybody. Party is also, in my eyes, I want to say one thing. I'm not about party. I'm an independent candidate. I'm not about one or the other. I think once you say you are one or the other, you take a step backwards. We need to keep our minds open and think outside the box. When we have problems, we have issues, we need to listen to everybody. There's good ideas on both sides of the table, and we need to listen to those ideas and solutions and then pick the very best one and use common sense when we do so. So I'm definitely going to tell people I'm working for everybody, not just one party. I'm everybody's candidate, and I'm working for everybody in St. Paul to give people the best city possible and make our city run the way it should.
So going back to the Saint Stadium then, so the St. Paul City Council, we have no commitment from the Saints.
Nope.
But the City Council has committed St. Paul taxpayer money to
Correct.
this project?
Correct.
How much have they committed?
$27 million from the state. The state is paying $27 million. The city of St. Paul is paying $24 million, and the Saints are committing only to $1.7 million.
Wow.
Which is absolutely ridiculous.
And so where is the $24 million coming from the city? Is that coming from just like a general fund, or is it coming from is there like a sports stadium fund, or where does that come from?
It's called a general bond. Basically, that means the taxpayers across the city are going to pay for this ballpark. Everybody in the state of Minnesota is going to pay for this ballpark. That's the reality.
So how will the St. Paul residents be paying through it? Is it through a sales tax, or where are they going to actually pay for the stadium?
Well, there's a variety of unique ways they have been building people lately, but it'll probably come through some kind of an assessment or some kind of a tax that the city's going to impose on people. And the reality is this ballpark, this is just how bad the city is conducting business right now. This ballpark is so bad that this should just stop everything in its tracks right now with this complete project. The reality is no commitment from the Saints, no total cost from Ryan Construction, and also no idea what it's going to cost to buy out the Market House condos. This project needs to stop. We need to take a vote. We need to ask people whether they want it, and if they want it, where they want it. That's the bottom line.
It's pretty unbelievable that the Saints, they're not even committed to it, and they're only being asked to put in $1.7 million out of a total $80 million estimated project. It just seems pretty unbelievable, especially when you compare that to the Vikings Stadium, where I believe the numbers were more like at least the Vikings had to pay for 75% of their stadium, and the state taxpayers kicked in the rest, or at least it seems like it's going to happen that way. I don't know. The e-poll tabs aren't exactly coming through exactly how they said it would.
Tony, you're exactly correct. The Viking Stadium looks like a saint compared to this project. The Viking Stadium looks like a saint compared to this project. If people had the facts and knew the facts, the Viking Stadium is a better put together plan where the actual Vikings have a bigger share going to the program over there than the Saints here do. I mean, it's that bad. The city of St. Paul needs to stop this project, take a vote, and ask people what they really want. Otherwise, we're putting the taxpayers across the state on the hook, the city of St. Paul residents on the hook for this ballpark. And we need to get more of a commitment across the board from the Saints. We are not in a position to be negotiating. We're negotiating backwards right now. And that's not the way you do things with this kind of a project. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not ready for prime time.
So you mentioned that you don't have a party affiliation, so you're running as a independent then?
Correct.
Have you gotten any endorsements from any parties, or?
I have basically a lot of people across the board in the city of St. Paul welcoming us, telling us, listen, we really like your ideas, we like your thoughts. We aren't being endorsed by anyone. No, we have no endorsement. Right now, we are funding this whole thing ourselves. This is a self-funded campaign. The reality is I'm not about party. I think party's the problem, and I think people need to open up their minds and start to work across the board with people from both sides. Like I said, there's great ideas on both sides of the table. We need to be able to listen to all the ideas and try and pick the best solutions when we do have a problem and use the best common sense, most common sense we can. We need to open up our minds. And that's a huge issue that we don't have right now in St. Paul, and that's why we're stagnant. We're staying right where we are. We're actually going backwards in my eyes. We're going backwards in a lot of different ways. The vacancy rate downtown, the highest unemployment rate in the nation, 1 in 4 people living in poverty, over half of the people right now not graduating from high school. We could talk all day. We've requested debates. We've requested Mayor Coleman to debate us for over 3 months. The man won't debate us. There are so many issues that need to be addressed. He's afraid to come out and talk about these issues. We want to talk to him about all the issues and put these out on the table. The reality is this city needs new leadership. And I guarantee when I get into the position of power, I will give you a voice. I'll listen to what you have to say, because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of people out there that are a lot smarter than I am, and I'm willing to listen to what you have to say.
You know, one thing that you hear a lot from your everyday voters, you know, here in Minnesota, across the country, is that they're tired of the partisanship. They're tired of the back and forth and the perception that things aren't getting done, or as you pointed out, things are getting worse, progressively worse. You know, just in the spirit of a bipartisanship or getting along, are there any good things or positive things that you can say about Mayor Coleman's tenure as a mayor of St. Paul?
I can say one thing. He's given a good example of what not to do as a leader. That's what I would say. I've seen nothing positive come out of this administration. We've lost businesses, all kinds of businesses. Mayor Coleman said we wouldn't lose one business when the light rail construction happened. We lost over 100. We've lost Target, downtown Macy's. We've lost the Ford Motor Company. 3M's pulled out. We've lost a variety of businesses up and down and all around the city. We can't afford to lose more businesses. We have 1 in 4 in poverty. The educational gap is terrible, one of the worst in the nation. We do have the highest unemployment rate in the nation, and that's between people that are white and people of color. It's just not acceptable. Right now, this administration needs to go. We need to put somebody new in there that will listen to the people, that will work for the people, that will do what's right for the city. Make the city solvent. If we need to do a variety of things in the city once we get in there to listen to the different departments, we will do that. We will give the people that are working in the city a voice. I'm all about listening to the people that are working in the city. They do a hard job, and we need to give them a voice. But listen, right now there's a lot of things that can be improved upon, and I can tell you, we can't go anywhere but forward.
And how do you think you would work with the St. Paul City Council members? You talk a little more about that?
Yeah, the City Council, I tell you what, there's seven City Council people, and I tell you, they're all doing a wonderful job. They have a lot of work. Okay, we have a lot of people in the city that really need to be listened to, and across the board, that's what their job is. The City Council is supposed to listen to the people in their wards and do what those folks would like and give them a voice. Across the board, I'd like to see the City Council people each get into the businesses. I mean, we don't have that many businesses as it is in St. Paul, so I think they should be able to get into each of the businesses once a year and ask those businesses, what can we do to make your business better? What can we do what can we provide you with to make your livelihood here more flourishing and help people stay in business and keep jobs going for people? The reality is the City Council, I would love to work with each of the City Council people. I know them, and I think they're wonderful. I think they're doing a decent job. We could do a few things. Everybody can do better every day. I mean, that's the reality. We all have to try and do a little better every day, and I think that if we do that, I think they're all in the right in the positions because they care about the city. I think that's what it's all about. We have to care about the city and work together and listen to one another. Give each other the common courtesy and respect to work together. That's what I'm all about.
Okay, and Tim, just give you the last 30 seconds to a minute here to explain to everybody how they can find out more about your campaign. Do you have a website, Facebook, Twitter? Ask for
We do. It's timholdenformayor.com. You can check us out at timholdenformayor.com. Basically, we'd love you to come over to our office and talk to us. If you have questions, we'd love to see you. We're at 1607 University in the back of the building. We do have a lot of people that have been volunteering for us, and we really appreciate all your work and help.
Thank everybody for tuning in to the Tony Hernandez Show. We're coming to the end of our show here. You can watch us live every Saturday on SCC Television Studios at 4 o'clock. Our YouTube channel is Tony Hernandez Show. May God bless you. May God bless America, and vaya con Dios.